So I've just been trying to like rationalise to myself why people choose to stay in the Matrix. Like you've got that scene in the Matrix where the traitor, he's sitting there in the restaurant talking to Agent Smith, and he says, "I know this steak ain't real, but it just tastes so good." And you know, and Agent says, "Well, we got a deal then." Right. There's several reasons why people choose to stay in the Matrix. There's the pressure that the Matrix puts on you to stay in the Matrix. It doesn't want you to leave. It doesn't want you getting out of it. It wants you to be under control because you're like a commodity as far as it's concerned. You're like one of its little sheep. So there's that pressure. There's also, because of the horrible nature of this whole situation, there's the pressure of becoming like isolated from everything that you've known before. So that becomes a big obstacle. You don't want to have to be on your own. You rather, even though the Matrix sucks and it's not really real, and no one's got any soul in the Matrix, you still feel that you've got to like go along with it because the alternative is just too horrible. Getting out of the Matrix, it's like you're in no man's land, and so there's that. There's the pressure also that when you get out of the Matrix, you've got to think for yourself, and that means you've got to take responsibility for your own thoughts and actions and stuff in your life. That's a lot of responsibility. A lot of people don't like that. They're not used to that responsibility. Whether they admit it or not, they don't really want that responsibility. They'd rather that someone else carrying on do the thinking for them, even though they will say otherwise. Actually, when it comes down to it, they don't really want to have to deal with their own, thoughts and responsibilities. So there's that. Well, it's this combination of things. Also, it's easier when you're in the Matrix and you're in your like insect mind or reptile mind. It's so much easier. People wouldn't all stay in the Matrix if it wasn't a lot easier to be locked down and to not think, basically. All your thoughts to basically be instinctual responses to whatever's going on around you. So then you basically, all the complex parts of your brain are all shut down, and you don't need as much blood going to the brain. The brain hasn't got to work anywhere near as hard. You're saving a lot of energy. There's lots of advantages to being in the Matrix and in the reptile brain. It's incredibly simple and straightforward. You don't have to work at it. It happens by itself. It's all gut instinct. You don't have to try. Your life just goes automatically on autopilot without you having to do any real thinking or work or take any responsibilities for anything. So that's a big like factor in why people don't get out of the Matrix. It's just too easy to be in the Matrix. And it's like it's too much hard work if you want to get out of the Matrix. So that's how people are kept in the Matrix. It's just like there's a few things that work together that collectively like just keep you in the Matrix. And plus there's things like free will. Have you got any free will? I've noticed that I seem to get periods where I have got free will and then periods where I haven't. And what I mean is that there are periods where it doesn't, even what I want to think, it seems to be out of control. I can't even think the thoughts I want to think. But every so often you get a point where you're relaxed enough and you can just decide what to think, and you can think what thoughts you want to think. And for example, this is a key point. There's all these experiments that they've done recently to try and determine whether or not people have got free will, and they try and make it sound like we've basically got no free will. Now, the question is, who would want you to believe that? And the answer, the Matrix, the Archons. Right. How can they actually do experiments that are infallible to determine whether or not you've got free will? They can't. If it's an experiment, it's going to be fallible, because it's an experiment. You can't do experiments that will determine whether or not you've got free will or not. People can believe they can, and they can choose to believe that, and then they're just going into the Matrix. It's an excuse to not take responsibility. That's ultimately, and it keeps you in the Matrix, and it's a choice that you make. It demonstrates that you actually have got free will. You can choose if you want to, even though there might be no evidence to back it up. You can choose, and it actually does, in that moment, prove that you've got free will, if you want to believe that, because you can decide to believe that you have got free will, despite the evidence. And you've got free will, because you've just proved it to yourself. You know, that leads on to other things, you know, about what you attract into your life, etc. Because of the thoughts that you choose to think. If you choose to have positive thoughts, you will attract positive things because of the law of attraction. You've got a choice. You have got free will. You can pretend you haven't, but you have.